All right, and welcome back to our second of 5 matches this afternoon here on GG Speedruns of the Super Smash TV tournament, our 7th annual tournament. Alongside Ferran Burgundy, I'm LOZ Cards Fan 23. We are now getting ready for game number 2, match number 2 between Skawttie and Space Croquette. So in the opening round, Skawttie got swept by our very own Mr. Dino 3-0. And in Space Croquette's situation, he got swept by 40 Watt Range 3-0, the 3rd annual Smash TV tournament champions. So now these two are going up against each other, and this is an elimination match. Winner moves on to face off against the number 10 seed Skawttie 48. The loser will be sent home.
Good luck.
You hate to see eliminations in this, but also if there was that, then the tournament would be endless if we didn't have those eliminations. So we will see how things go.
All right, here we go. So we are underway here in arena number 1. They both have their Razor Shield manipulations, and we'll see who comes out of here first. Oh, a nuke on the feet there for Space Croquette, and it wasn't quite the end of the room there. So some bad luck there to start things off. And that's just another situation of the RNG favoring the favorites, underwhelming the underdogs. I mean, it's going to be a 40 for Skawttie, and it's going to be like a 45 for Space Croquette.
High 45, mid to high 45, that is. So yeah, good few second lead already here. Kind of the tail of the tape. Skawttie having the PB's member of the sub 6 club, 25th overall on the leaderboard with a 552.8 PB. Space Croquette 55th overall with a 649 PB. So almost a minute differential, but we've seen RNG can certainly play a factor, and anything is possible.
Yeah, but as you say that, Burgundy, it is Skawttie who gets the first drop orb. And yeah, Space Croquette is one of the newer runners of the Super Smash TV circuit, and I certainly think some big things are to come from him down the line, but it is Skawttie who's going to go into Eat My Shrapnel first. Space Croquette does get an orb of his own, so he'll at least be able to, you know, keep level, but he's already about 10 seconds or so back going into Eat My Shrapnel. The key is trying to keep that orb nice and healthy. You got to watch out for that swirl. Oh dear. And he hits the mine.
Yeah, the shrapnel kind of popping out there and dismantling the orb, and you tend to see it a lot, especially with newer runners. You have something kind of go askew from your plans, and that just mentally throws you off, and next thing you know, you're using up a life and coming in with some invulnerability. Heading into Total Carnage is Skawttie at a 216. Picking up an orb, though, is Space Croquette.
And he somehow gained a second. I'm guessing Skawttie must have struggled keeping that room under control, because it's now a 9-second lead for Skawttie. So, oh, Space Croquette is getting absolutely overwhelmed here by the foot soldiers. Skawttie is able to keep control of the middle. There's a nuke. This could give Space Croquette a much-needed breather. Let's see if the game can give him a Razor Shield. Nope, it's a key. Go figure. And then he loses the orb on top of it. But so does Skawttie. All right, so rockets for Space Croquette. Skawttie has nothing right now, so right now a small advantage to Space Croquette, but he's missing a lot on those rockets. And firing lanes, absolutely important here if you want to play well in Smash TV. I mean, it's one thing to get the weapons, it's another that you're landing your shots, and Skawttie does get a replacement orb. 325 going into the bonus room. Space Croquette, there's a nuke. He'd be wise to grab it, and he does. Doesn't quite close out the room. Still has a few foot soldiers left. Does have rockets. And there's that swirl of shame, meaning you've taken too long in this room.
I know it all too well.
And Space Croquette now 21 seconds and an orb back going into the bonus room. So Skawttie right now in a good place. Let's see if he can keep that orb nice and healthy. Not a good opening drop with the dude. He's going to be relegated to the corner as he wants to keep that orb healthy. Now he's got some rockets, but that's a long ways to go. He's going to ignore them.
corner strats are good when you're being overwhelmed. It keeps you from losing lives, losing orbs, and now able to kind of get a little bit of a foothold in the center.
Yeah, nice rocket grab there from Skawttie at the bottom of the door. That's always a dangerous place to grab weapons, but Skawttie, good patience there, does get his orb, keeps it healthy, gets the rockets. Rockets now for Space Croquette as he takes the death, but he'll gladly take those rockets. Skawttie losing his orb late here in tank trouble, so he will not have the opportunity to get the ball buster off on Mutoid Man. It's going to be a 450 for Skawttie. More rockets now for Space Croquette, but then loses him as he is clubbed down.
Yeah, just a little too snug in there, trying to utilize that rocket and the billy club of the foot soldier just enough, and now here comes the overwhelmment.
Yep, because tank trouble, the spawn rate in this room is equivalent to an Arena 3 room. It can get very overwhelming rather easily, and not many players in our tournament are able to handle that kind of pressure. It's very tough. I don't care how long you've been playing this game. Few players master this room. It's tough. So Space Croquette is about 40 seconds back, and Skawttie gets run over as he pops off that second arm, and it's an empty drop. All it takes, though, is a spreader or two, and Space Croquette can get back into this one. We'll see how it plays out. Lobber, which is a good consistent damage, but he needs to get a spreader soon if he wants to take game number one. Skawttie, though, struggling, should still be able to get to the rockets, which he does. Back-to-back lobbers now for Space Croquette. Make that 3 in a row as the first arm is popped off. Ribcage exposed now for Skawttie, so he keeps a roughly 2 full form lead. Space Croquette, though, riding the lobber train as the second arm was popped off, but he now has an empty drop. He's looking for that spreader. Unfortunately, it's rockets. That was a good idea, though, for Space Croquette. Just didn't get the RNG to cooperate.
Oh, and then grenades on the feet to add to it as well. Does take another death here. Might be.
Yeah, he will.
Okay.
Right now, time running out for Space Croquette, trying to get back into this one because Skawttie has already popped off the head. He's on the second to last form here. Then gets zapped. It's unfortunately not a spreader. So right now, things looking good for Skawttie. Skawttie sees that spreader a little too late, so he's not going to be able to get that bonus damage. And it's an empty drop and a continue now for Space Croquette. And Skawttie right now can cruise to the line here, but he's going to need one more drop. This should do it for Skawttie. And there it is.
Yep, so that'll put it at about, what, a 724, 20, I don't know.
24.
Okay.
You got it. He split a little bit late, but that's a 724. So Skattie's probably not going to be pleased about that first run, but as Brysolf would say, survive and advance. Yeah, Space Croquette's ignoring the spreader because it was such a long way to go, and if Mutoid Man makes even one block, he's not getting to that. So he decided to keep the percentage play and just not go for that spreader.
Yep, here for the first arena, for the the easy percent here. Mutoid Man, certainly the head of the gauntlet of villains.
He most certainly is. Nice reference there. 8:14 will be the time for Space Croquette. So kind of similar Mutoid Man fights. They were only about 10 seconds apart, but Skawttie definitely had the better arena gameplay. We'll see if Space Croquette's able to clean that up, because I think Skawttie is going to bounce back here in game number 2 and have a much cleaner arena 1.
Yeah, it's interesting, the mindset, if a game doesn't necessarily go the way that you want it to, what mental adjustments one makes as they go from game to game, especially in a tournament race setting like this here.
Well, you're definitely right about that, Burgundy. I mean, it's one thing that you won your respective game with a not-so-hot time, but it's another about how you're going to make the proper adjustments in game number 2. Same thing can apply to Space Croquette, because he's definitely more capable of the time that he just put up there in game number 1. I expect both of these runners to bounce back here in game number 2.
Yeah, I don't have much insight on it because the only tournament I did was 2 years ago, and each game my brain was just going, all right, stink less.
Right. That's what both of these owners are probably thinking right now, Burgundy.
Obviously edited for content here on GG Speedruns, as I would have had different verbiage for sure.
Oh, no question about it. Tell you what, that was a much better Arena 1 for Space Croquette. In fact, he's got the whole shot.
Well, how about that? It's probably about a half second, but hey, an advantage is an advantage no matter how you slice it.
Absolutely. So let's see if the game can bless him with some good RNG to start collect power-ups. Hey, look at that. It's an orb. But can he get to it? Yes. Now, can he keep the orb is another question. Skawttie gets a great first drop of his own. He gets the vitamin R, the rockets, so that's going to help him out. Spreader now for Space Croquette on the feet, a foot for Skawttie, so once those rockets run out, he's going to have to scramble.
Rambling and scrambling, the name of the game, whether you have, especially when you don't have anything to complement whatever weapon you have, in this case, the pea shooter.
Rockets to close the room is going to give Skawttie the lead with a 126. The shrapnel goes off on Space Croquette. It'll be about a 129, about a 3.5 second lead, but Space Croquette going to have to be very careful. Yeah, that's the thing. I thought he was going to lose that orb right there, but just was able to sneak by that green foot soldier, keep that orb intact. Now gets an invulnerability. 18 of the Mr. Shrapnels, we must take out 4 maximum on the screen at any given point. This rocket, plus he gets the orb. It's the holy trinity for Skawttie. He's got everything now.
Yeah,
watch out.
In a decent order, too. Orb first, then the Razor Shield, and then the rockets to complement that trinity.
And then the Razor Shield for Space Croquette should be able to help him stay afloat here. It's a 210 for Skawttie. It is a 213 for Space Croquette. It's a 3-second lead. Rockets to start for Skawttie. Follow that up with a key. There's some rockets for Space, but watch out, Space Croquette. Ah.
Oh, there it is. You saw it coming.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, again, he is newer to the, and that Razor Shield would have complemented everything very nicely, but he does get some rockets.
Whoa. Oh, game. You cruel temptress, you.
I mean, to be fair, Space Croquette is one of the newer runners on the circuit, so that might be something that, you know, maybe in the next year's tournament that he might improve on for until then. But again, Space Croquette, you know, he's got about a high 6-minute time as his PB, and again, I expect down the road he's going to improve on that. But right now, Skattie's still keeping that orb nice and healthy. He picks up the grenades. That's dangerous to do. He does keep them intact. I think that was probably an accidental grab there because he avoids those grenades, does keep the orb nice and healthy. But I'll tell you what, Space Croquette is right there. 317 versus a 320. It is still a 3-second game. It is time for, Taco Bell. Taco Bell. Product placement with Taco Bell.
It most certainly is.
Now, let's see if the game can either give Space Croquette a replacement orb or some rockets to at least guide him. Because Skawttie right now has no weapon to take with him. So this first drop is going to be key for both runners here. Nothing good for Skawttie and nothing good really for Space Croquette either. I mean, invulnerability is going to help him when you don't have an orb. So I guess it's something, but you want to see something better than that. And those vitamin R's sure is a good drop, but he is too far away from them. He's got no chance.
Yep, just gets run over there by the tank, able to utilize another invulnerability, and then gets rockets on the feet.
Well, you love to see that. Skawttie lost his orb, but does get rockets of his own. Followed that up with a spreader. Nuke there for Space Croquette, so he's out of rockets. But now more rockets for Skawttie. As a foot is there for Space Croquette. He's going to need something better than that, and that is not something better. The spreader now for Skawttie, so he's definitely getting good weapon drops here in tank trouble, but Skattie's probably thinking, save some of these spreaders for Mutoy Man, huh, game?
Space Croquette getting the rockets, but then getting overwhelmed, and ends up taking a death, and now is just trying to clear as much of the room as possible, utilizing the invulnerability and hoping for some additional firepower, as now here into Mutoid Man goes Skawttie.
At 442, and Space Croquette, definitely in a more better position. He is, oh, he missed that shrapnel. He didn't see that there in the top right corner, being very sneaky there. That's a big time penalty there as he's 26 seconds back.
Yeah,
I'll tell you what.
Hiding in the corner, amazing.
Skawttie has not popped off an arm yet, so right now, Skawttie off to a bad start here in the start of this Mutoid Man fight, but unfortunately for Space Croquette, an empty drop to start the fight. Spreader for Space Croquette, but he doesn't take the death. He figured probably running out of time here, so he's trying to get the manuals. He landed a few shots, but kind of being a little bit conservative. He's hoping for a vulnerability, but no. That's a lobber, though, so that'll be a better drop for him. Oh, he just got to it in time.
Wow. By a pixel.
That had to be a pixel or two at most. Croquette gets a refill now. As Skawttie right now is about a full form lead on Space Croquette, but that lead is starting to grow. This is a very competitive and close game so far between these two runners here. Space Croquette would love to see a spreader in a prime position, try to get that big-time damage here. Because Skawttie right now, they're both riding the lobber train. As the head pops off for Skawttie, keeping that full form lead. There it is with the invulnerability. Oh, he had a little invulnerability. He was trying to hit the mine, but that little piece of invulnerability made him change his mind. But look at this. He's lined up for him, but it's final form now for Skawttie. If this spreader comes up there for Croquette, though, no, it's grenade. So looking really good for Skawttie to win game number 2. There's some lobbers for Space Croquette. Are these grenades going to be enough for Skawttie? They will be enough. Spreader too little, too late for Croquette.
Yeah, fantastic spot, but yeah, if that was maybe about 25 seconds earlier, that would have been fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be a 7:02, and this was much better run for Space Croquette, and he was right there. He actually, again, had a better Mutoid Man fight than Skawttie. It was just too little, too late. Time's going to be a 7:19, roughly 17 seconds.
Yeah, the skills are certainly there. It's just a combination of luck, skill, strategy, knowledge, and fun. I don't know.
I thought for a moment you were going to say skills, strategy, and sabotage. And that's another 80s game show altogether. Because there is skills, strategy, and sabotage in Super Smash TV. I mean, how many sabotages have we seen on Mutoid Man fights, Burgundy?
More than I think either of us could count.
Absolutely, but I was right saying that they would both bounce back. Space Croquette really bounced back from game number 1, though. Skawttie still not in the range that I would expect him to see with a sub-6 PB, so Skawttie, you know, might be starting to shake up the cobwebs, but I think Space Croquette, I think he's due for a sub-7. I think, you know, if he keeps this up, I think we might see a game number 4. We'll see what happens. Good question from Coolio, and I will be glad to answer that. That is from the 80s High Rollers with Wink Martindale.
I thought so, but it had been so long since I'd seen it. Plus, I've had a healthy helping of watching what I could of some Trebek High Rollers from the 70s and 1980.
Yeah, I don't know how many episodes of the original High Rollers exist from that particular run, but because I know back then tape wiping practices was still a thing, but I agree. I kind of do personally like the Trebek High Rollers episodes myself. And then look at this. Once again, Space Croquette having a whole shot going into collect power-ups. So last 2 games, he's had a better Arena 1 room than Skawttie.
Most certainly hoping to keep that momentum going here. And yeah, I think it's because you got to see the more fun side of Trebek that was curtailed as he had to be very debonair with Jeopardy for all those years.
Oh, no question about it here. And both of these runners do have an orb, so equal opportunity drops for our runners here. A couple of nukes as well for Space Croquette. There's a foot and a grenade. Nothing great for either runner to complement the orb, but here's some Vitamin R, which can help close out the room for Space Croquette. And it is going to be Skawttie with a 125, but Space Croquette is right there with a 127, a little under 3 seconds back of Skawttie. Now, keeping that orb, yeah, you really got to be careful at the start of that room. He almost lost that orb again. And Sigma Fan with the statistics there is that Sigma Fan says she believes from Adam to Death that the 74 to 76, which is the original high rollers, does exist, but we don't know about the NBC 78 to 80 version. That's interesting.
Very intriguing.
All right, 210 for Skawttie, a 211 for Space Croquette, so he gained about a second and a half. He cut that lead in half. Oh, does get past the foot soldiers, but Rockets is to start the room, and there it is. Yep. Does get a replacement, but oh, that was almost a little bit too quick, because you know that orb spawns at around 2 o'clock, so that purple foot almost got to it. Oh boy. Space Croquette getting a little bit overwhelmed here. Skawttie still has that orb nice and healthy, but here comes a Razor Shield. That's a great drop there for Croquette.
Oh, great drop at a great time as the soldiers are starting to swarm in now. They get to run into that yellow Razor Shield, and that gives Space Croquette a chance to just center in, get those firing lanes, and hope for a weapon to complement it. And so far, it's been anything but. It's been nothing but peace.
Yep, late Razor Shield here for Skawttie to finish up Total Carnage. Space Croquette running out of that Razor Shield, but does get a spreader. Hopefully it will be able to finish up that room, and it does finish up the room there for Space Croquette. And right now it's about a 7-second lead for Skawttie, but right now this is close. This is what you want to see.
Most certainly is, and I know that you usually talk about tacos here. I prefer apples, as in Apple TV, where you can check out the docu-series Monster Factory that debuted this past Friday. You get to hear yours truly in it as the play-by-play commentator. It's a 6-episode series, Monster Factory, that debuted on Apple TV Plus this past Friday.
Well, that's awesome. You know, speaking of Apple TV, not only are you on Apple TV, but Albert Pujols' 700th career home run was on Apple TV as well.
How about that?
All right, rockets and lots of rockets for these runners here in Tank Trouble to start things off. So this is what you want to see from both runners here. I mean, Space Croquette is getting the goods as well as Skawttie, but how long will these drops last? Usually they don't last. We call it TTTT for a reason. So the drops are starting to dry up for both players as Skawttie drops the orb. So maybe an opportunity here for Space Croquette to cut into that lead. Is relegated to the corner, though, and that's where your firing lanes decrease dramatically. But is trying to find an opening here late in Tank Trouble, but then finally gives up the orb. Is going to get rockets to at least close out the room. It's a 441 for Skawttie. Space Croquette should be closing in on the end of the room here. And does. This is the end of the room for Space Croquette. So he is going to be double digits back, but again, in a better position again than he was in the last race with the 455. So he's still very much alive. And with that empty drop to start for Skawttie, this could give Space Croquette a little bit of an opening. A key!
Back-to-back empty drops. The key, the invulnerability. Now a lobber finally, but yeah, that pretty much negates the lead that Skawttie had.
Absolutely here, but Space Croquette has not gotten the gunners off yet. They finally do. So right now it's going to come down to quality of weapon, who can better utilize with what the game gives you. And right now, the advantage is Skattie's, not by much though. But these weapon quality has to improve for Space Croquette, or he's going to be going home.
Yeah, Space Croquette riding the unfortunate grenade train here, as I believe that's 4 in a row.
Yeah, and he's not going to get to that one either. He is completely blocked off by Mutoy, man. That was a good idea in case there was a spreader. It's going to be lobbers instead. They both have lobbers, and Skawttie continuing to get that lead on Space Croquette as the rib cage is exposed. It's about a full form lead right now for Skawttie. Space Croquette, and that's an empty drop. He needs to see a spreader soon, or he is going to be back to back and vulnerabilities. Are you kidding me, game? And then gets the arguably one of the worst drops to follow that up. Does get a lobber, which will help, but problem is his opponent is also riding the lobber train. It's still a full form lead for Skawttie. This is still not over yet, but time running out for Space Croquette. He needs to see a spreader, or he needs to see empty drops on Skattie's side. And right now, oh, he's parking on it! But where's the drop for Space Croquette? Where's the drop? Rockets.
Oh, that's staying corrected.
Skattie's run over, and it's blocked again. There on the same form. This is not over yet by any stretch, but here's a spreader. He can't take the death, though. He's got to go. Oh, final form. He tried to get the transfer damage, but was not able to do so. But Space Croquette needs a spreader right now. That's not a spreader. It's looking good for Skawttie here. But he needs another drop. Final form for Space Croquette. It's an empty drop for Skawttie. A lobber should finish the job for Skawttie. Just needs a few shots. And Space Croquette gets run over as Skawttie finishes the job and will move on to the next round of the second chance bracket. Just unlucky. Space Croquette was right there, just could not get that spreader that would send him through to game number 4, and he will be eliminated from the tournament. Skawttie, no sub-7s at all in that game, but as Brysolf says time and time again, survive and advance. So it is going to be Skawttie moving on to the next round where he will be taking on Skawttie48. And I'll tell you one thing, Skattie's gonna have to post much better times than these against someone like the looks of Skawttie48, who burst onto the scene last year with some really good times. I expect Skawttie to get some practice in, to prepare himself for Skawttie48.